Hello and welcome to Chapter 2 on Modeling Distributions of Data, Section 2.2. And we'll cover this in 3 days actually. So this is day 1 on the density curves and normal distributions. So in this section, we're going to learn a little bit about the relative locations of both the median and the mean on a density curve. We've talked a little bit about that in terms of skewed distributions and approximate normal distributions and how they're related. We're going to look at estimating areas in a normal distribution. So a normal distribution will be something new that we'll talk about. We're also going to look at finding the proportion of z-values in a specified interval, or in other words, a z-score from a percentile, the standard normal distribution. So the key there were standard. So in other words, we're going to be looking at just different values in different intervals and what the areas underneath that curve. We'll be doing the same thing too with any normal distribution rather than just a standard distribution. So we'll be looking at any distribution versus what a standard distribution is. And then we'll be able to tell if a distribution is approximately normal from graphs and numerical evidence. So we'll be looking at another type of graph. It would be called a normal probability plot. So you'll need your Inspire calculator for that. So in Chapter 1, we did develop a kit of graphical and numerical tools for describing distributions, but we're going to add one more step to this strategy. So what we've done in the past is we always plot the data. Plot your data. So in other words, make a graph. Dot plots are good, and histograms are probably really good too. Histograms are probably the most popular, followed by dot plots and then stem plots. We're going to look at that overall pattern. In other words, look for our SOCs. That's the outliers. So there's the shape, the outliers, the center, and the spread. And then calculate a numerical summary to describe center and spread. And again, using the proper measure of center and spread based on the shape of the distribution. So that's a review from Chapter 1. And what we do is we add in Chapter 2. Sometimes the overall pattern of a large number of observations is so regular, it is so regular that we can describe it by a smooth curve. And we started doing that a little bit with our data and drawing the curves over the top of our histograms. So now we're going to do a little more formally. So we've got a rule though. Density curves. Density curves. So any curve that we make to describe a data set, it always is on or above the horizontal axis. So in other words, when we're drawing our graphs, they're always going to be above this horizontal axis. We've seen distributions that are doing something like this, or we got distributions that are doing something like this, that'll skewed a little bit, etc. We could have distributions that simply just look like that. So they always have to be drawn on or above the horizontal axis. And the other key point is the area underneath that curve has to be exactly 1. So if I look at this area, it'll total out to be 1. The same thing here. The area underneath this curve is 1. The area underneath this curve is 1 in order for it to be a density curve. So those are the 2 main points right here. On or above the horizontal axis, and the area underneath the curve is always 1. Okay? It does describe the overall pattern of a distribution. And the area of the curve and above any interval of values on the horizontal axis is the proportion of all observations that fall in that interval. So in other words, if I had a distribution that looked like this, let's say it was perfectly symmetric, sorry I didn't draw it that way, but if I got this median, we'd have 50% of the data down here and 50% of the data down here. Or up there. So here's an example. These are 947 7th graders in Gary, Indiana, on the Iowa Basic Skills Test. So you can look at each of these different bars and you can see the different scores and tallied. And what we just basically do is we're kind of just following that pattern of the histogram to try to make a smooth curve for that. And this one does look roughly symmetric. So our measures of center and spread do apply to density curves as well as the actual sets of the observations. So we're going to be looking at distinguishing between the median and the mean in a density curve. We've done a little bit of that too. Remember we talked about how the mean gets pulled by the tail of a distribution. Gets pulled away from that median. So just in general, the median, remember that's the part that marks the middle of the data, and it's the point that divides the area under the curve in half. That makes sense. Median, middle, half. The mean of a density curve is the balance point. It's kind of a way to kind of remember this. Like, where would you put the fulcrum of a seesaw on that distribution? So where would it balance? And then the mean and the median are the same for a symmetric density curve. So you could have a symmetric density curve that looks like this. You have equal parts on each side. So both the mean and the median would be right here if it was symmetric. Some of the more popular other ones are too of the this curve right here, where this mean and the median are right on the same spot. And again, the mean of a skewed curve is pulled away from the median. So we've talked about that. The brontosaurus tail, if you've got the brontosaurus and there's the tail, somebody's pulling on this tail, that's going to take the mean, the median, is going to pull the mean more this way. So that's where our mean would end up being. Okay, so just another illustration of that in a approximately symmetric distribution. The mean and the median are on the same spot. And when it becomes skewed, the mean gets pulled that way towards the tail. Okay. Median isn't always at the top point, especially in a curve like this, where it does end right here. It's not tailing off on this left side. So don't always draw the median at the top of the curve. You'd have to actually find out where you'd have 50% of the data down here, and then you have the other 50% up here. So you have to actually count those data points. So a density curve is an idealized description of a distribution of data. So it's kind of smoothened out, that data. What would it look like if we really smoothened it out? And we distinguish between the mean and standard deviation of a density curve and the mean and standard deviation computed from the actual observations. Right? So, we can look at a density curve and kind of estimate where the mean and standard deviation are. We can also do actual computations based off those observations. So just before we get into that, we're going to also talk about some notation. So mean of a density curve is this Greek letter called mu, spelt like this, mu. So this mean, the mean up here would be this mu character. Standard deviation of a density curve is the lowercase letter, Greek letter, sigma. Okay? Just kind of think it looks like a little bit like a Hershey's Kiss when you draw that. There's a little flag on that kiss. So, one of the most important and most widely used density curve is the normal curve, okay? Which describes normal distributions. And normal distributions are symmetric. They have single peaked, so they're unimodal. And then they're bell-shaped. So when you look at this kind of curve, we call it a bell shape because you think of this as a bell, or like right here, this is bell-shaped. So if you're thinking you've got a bell, you've got that here, the little ringer would be inside here, and you'd go back and forth. So any specific curve, normal curve, is completely described by giving us mean, mu, and its standard deviation. So when I want to describe a normal distribution, I'm always going to talk about its mean and its standard deviation. Its mean and its standard deviation. So any particular normal distribution is completely specified by two numbers that we just said. Mean, mu, and standard deviation, sigma. And again, we're not using those terms, x bar for mean and s sub x for standard deviation, because those are very specific values that we would have. these values are generalized to the whole population. Okay, so here the mean of a normal distribution is the center. The mean is the center of the normal curve. The standard deviation is the distance from the center to the change of curvature points on either side. So what that kind of looks like is if you got a distribution that looks like this, you're kind of looking, there's the mean right there in the center. The standard deviation would be that distance to right about here. Okay? Because this is kind of where that curvature is going down, and this is kind of where this curvature here is going up. It's kind of this midway point right here where the curve, this is curving downward, this is curving upward. And this distance right here, that distance that we'd have from there to there, is our standard deviation. And we quickly abbreviate just when we describe a normal distribution like this. So we say this is a normal curve with mean, mu, and standard deviation, sigma. So why are they so important? Well, normal distributions are good descriptions of some distributions of real data. They're also good approximations of chance outcomes. And then what we get into the second semester, a lot of statistical inference does rely upon normal distributions. So we have there's a rule with a normal distribution called the 68-95-99.7 rule. And what it says is if we are one standard deviation, if you fall within one standard deviation of the center, if I go one standard deviation above and one standard deviation below, that covers 68% of the data. 95% of the data would be covered if I go to two standard deviations above and below. And 99.7% of the data is covered if I go 3 standard deviations above and below. That helps us with some of our approximations under the curve. The standard normal distribution is simply a normal distribution with mean 0 and standard deviation 1. So in other words, it's a normal distribution with mean 0, standard deviation 1. And if a variable x has any normal distribution with mean, mu, and standard deviation sigma, we can standardize it going back and using our z formula. That's how I can standardize it, any value, if it is not a standard normal distribution. And we can find those areas under the curve by using Table A. Your teacher should be able to provide you that, and it's the first first table that's in the packet. It's also in the back of your textbook in an appendix. And it's simply a table of areas under the standard normal curve. So to look at an example, the table entry for each value z is the area under the curve to the left of that value. So suppose we want to find the proportion of observations from a standard normal distribution. So standard normal distribution would look like this. It would have a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. But what I want to know is what is the area under the curve that's less than 0.81. Well, 0.81 would be right about here. That's 0.81 standard deviations above the mean. And I'd be looking for all this area underneath this curve. And again, there's people that have used calculus to calculate this area underneath that curve. We've just got to be able to use a table. So in doing that, I'm going to go to that z-chart. I'm going to go down and find where 0.8 is. And then I'm going to start to go over until I get that that 1 part to make it 0.81. There's the number I'm looking for. So the area under the curve that's less than 0.81 on a standard normal distribution is about 79%. About 79% of the data that's available. All right, at this point, you should be able to do the first assignment right here.